It's Tonya with Life with Tonya, and I'm back with another 2 Cent Tuesday where I share my views and opinions about trending topics and relationships that I came across while strolling around online. So, the theme for this 2 Cent Tuesday comes from the Diddy trial, and if you are hanging out in these social media streets like I am, then you already know what's going on with that trial, so it's not a secret to you. But just to give you a quick recap, Diddy is currently on trial for a list of charges stemming from sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracies, and drug possession. So I'm not an attorney, so we're not going to get into all that and analyze the charges and recap the case. I'm only going to talk about the relation aspect of it, which is younger women dating older men. So when it comes to his alleged sex trafficking charge, Google said that Diddy is being accused of threatening and abusing women and coercing them to engage in commercial sexual acts and allegedly using his business as a disguise to transport women across state lines. So to prove this charge, his 11-year relationship with Cassie is under the microscope and all types of skeletons are coming out the closet, child. So this is not to, again, talk about if Cassie was in the right or the wrong, or is she a victim or not a victim. Again, our focus here is only about the age gap with younger women dating older men. So when Cassie started dating Diddy, Cassie was 19 and Diddy was 37. And according to my research online, the relationship started getting public notability around 2012. I think the relationship started around 2005 when she signed to his label and dropped her first single and all that. But around 2012, I guess, is when they started being more public with their relationship. So in 2012, I was at least in my late 20s at that time. But even at that age, I had enough common sense and self-awareness to know that something in what was not clean about that relationship. But being a young woman myself, I was somewhat able to relate to Cassie in a sense because women do mature faster than men. And for young women, we do want certain things that men our age is not able to give us. So for example, a 25-year-old woman, she may be ready for marriage and kids and financial security and to live out a certain lifestyle by acquiring material possessions and taking luxury trips and just having a certain level of financial security that a 25-year-old man may not be able to provide for her. But on the flip side, most 25-year-old men, they may still live at home with their parents. Their sex drive is high, so they have multiple sex partners, or they're managing several romantic relationships at the time. And for a non-celebrity type 25-year-old man, he may not be financially well off to where he can afford to take care of himself, a wife, children, rent, mortgage, a car notes, and just the basic needs of life. 25-year-old man, he's out having a good time and trying to sow his royal oats and trying to figure out where he's going at this point. So his life is not focused on, or his life may not be focused on, a relationship, children, marriage, bills, so on and so forth. Where a 25-year-old woman, her mind may be on those type of things. So all that to say, it's sort of kind of common for younger women to be attracted to older men. But at what age do we draw the line and say that this man of a certain age is too old to be dating a woman of a certain age? And just to insert my personal story in here a little bit, so I have always been personally attracted to men who have been 1 to 5 years older than me. But what snapped me into reality was my relationship with a guy, and he was about 6 to 8 years older than me. Now, I was initially attracted to this guy because, again, he's 6 to 8 years older than me, and I thought he was more established, more experienced with life, more financially secured. I just thought he was overall more mature, more mature than what the age range that I was in at the time. And I thought he came with a certain level of financial security and, maybe he was ready for settle down and wife, kids, and the whole nine, all that comes with being older and more mature. Well, during the short time that we dated, I quickly realized that age was nothing but a number. And this guy was financially irresponsible. He was mentally immature, very, very mentally immature. He lied about the number of ex-wives that he had. Like when we first met, he told me he only had one ex-wife. But towards the end of the relationship, come to find out he had like 3 or 4 ex-wives. And he was in a massive amount of debt. And I'm not talking about just, $10,000, $20,000 worth of debt. He was in huge amounts of debt. And of course, with debt comes bad credit. Like his credit was in the 2, 3, 4s. And this was an older man now. We're talking about a man in his late 40s, early 50s. And so I just expected more from a man at that age category. I did not expect him to be in so much debt. I did not expect him to have as many ex-wives as he had. It was just a lot that I did not expect for a man that age to have going on at that time. But, so, towards the end of our relationship, when things are starting to unravel and fall apart and all this revelation is starting to come to light, I also learned that he lacked accountability. Like, he was blaming a huge lack of his success. He was blaming that on the women that allegedly done him wrong. Like all his ex-wives and ex-girlfriends and anybody that he put in an ex category. All these women allegedly done him wrong in some shape, form, or fashion. But just by me talking to him and analyzing his story, from what I was able to pick up on, he was picking these women out of a need to survive. And so what I mean by that is he was going into these situations, he was going into these relationships, gaslighting these women with his money, so he was trying to buy them and wine and dine them and make it appear to these women, and myself included, that he was this financially well-off man. So, he's buying gifts and flowers and trips and the whole 9 yards, just trying to make you feel real loved and special. And so he's doing all this to hook and sink you into a relationship with them. But by the time you got into a relationship with them, now here come the financial excuses and this ain't going right, that ain't going right, he need money for this, he's trying to do that, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So I'm assuming he done the same thing with his exes as well. He was financially manipulating his women into thinking he had his life together when he really did not. But the dangers that come with that, when you start to lead with your money in that sense, you also attract a certain woman who is more in love with your money than she is with yourself. Now, this is in no way trying to attack his ex-wives or ex-women, because again, I believe he manipulated these women to think that he had it going on when he really didn't have it going on. But at the same time, he was only picking these women because, say for example, these women had a house and he didn't have a house. And so he knew that at his age, he couldn't go back home and live with mom and dad. So he was picking a woman based off the fact that she had a house, or he was picking this woman based off the fact that she had a car or two that he can drive around in. He was picking these women to be able to supply his basic needs of survival that he as a man should have been able to survive himself. But back to what I was saying. So he was out here picking women on the needs to survive. So blaming all of his exes as to why his life was turned every which way upside down. But in my opinion, it was completely his fault for the way that his life was turned out. He was out here dating and marrying women based on his needs to survive. So he wasn't properly vetting these women's character and their mentality. Like, the relationship was not based on love. The relationship was based out of need. These women needed money that they thought he had, and he needed a place to stay. But the point of me inserting my personal story here is to share that my 2 cents in dating older men, seeking out younger women, is that most older men who date younger women, they are doing so in an essence to try to hide their character flaw, or they're doing so in an attempt to hide their character flaw, and to ignore the accountability that come with dating a woman their age. Like, say for example, this guy in his late 40s, early 50s, him dating a woman in her late 40s and early 50s, she probably would have been able to quickly pick up on the things that I was not able to quickly pick up on. You know, it took me several months to realize that this was the game he was running. And I was in my late 20s, early 30s, compared to if he was dating a woman in her late 40s, early 50s, she probably would have been able to quickly pick up on his game within a matter of weeks, or a few phone calls. So I believe that an immature man of an older age, he preys on younger women in hopes that a younger woman will lack the self-awareness or the self-confidence or whatever. He preys on a younger woman in hopes that this woman is not aware of his predatory behavior. And older men that pick younger women, they're also trying to live out their sexual fantasies or to get an ego boost and to survive off of her youthfulness, her beauty, and determination. And again, to also avoid accountability of changing the errors of his ways. Because again, I'm not being a 20, 30-year-old woman dating a 40, 50-year-old man. There's a lot of life experiences that I haven't come across yet. So I didn't know what signs to look out for, what red flags to look out for. That's probably the better term. I didn't know what red flags to look out for at 20, 30 years old. So if I had to guess, in my personal opinion, is that women should not date a man more than 5 years older than her, because at least you're in the same generation, you're in the same time zone, you're just more closer in age gap, mind mentality. Hopefully you guys know what I'm trying to say with that. But my personal opinion, and now I'm learning the lesson that I learned from that, my goal is to not date a guy that's anything over 5 years older than I am. But if you do happen to pick a man, if you're a young lady out here, a younger woman out here, if you do happen to pick a man that's 8 to 10 to 15 years older than you, then I do believe that there are some signs that you should pay close attention to that will help you be able to identify his character and behaviors and to know if this man is an abuser or narcissist at this point. So some of the signs that I was able to pick up on or identify is if this older man is always trying to keep the younger woman in isolation. And so some of the signs of isolation look like, do he manages your time that you spend with friends and family? Do you have a curfew when hanging out with the girls? Like, do he tell you need to be back home at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night? Do he stage assignments at work, or he stage certain events to avoid having to watch the kids or to avoid having to do certain things with you? Like, say, for example, you have this company Christmas party and you knew the company Christmas party was weeks in advance, months in advance. You told him about it. He said he was going to be there. Then all of a sudden, the day of, he either has to work late or some type of family emergency happened. Whatever the case is, something came up as to why he can no longer go to the company Christmas party with you. So that's like a manipulation of your time. He's trying to manipulate the event to isolate you from having to go to the Christmas party because you don't want to be seen with your family or friends, or he wants you to be home miserable while he's out doing his thing. So isolation is the biggest trigger, the biggest event to foretell if any type of abuse is going to happen in that relationship. And another one is another signs of isolation is like arguments. He always calls arguments around birthdays, holidays, special occasions. When you guys have date night plans or special events you got to attend, there's always some type of argument coming out. And another sign to look out for is if he's self-centered, however you word that. But to give you some examples of what I mean, do he make decisions without your input? Do he spend money without telling you how the money is being spent? And so what I mean by that is, it just could be a regular Wednesday or Thursday and he just come home with a brand new car. But at the same time, just a few days prior, you're telling him about the kids' school fees or the kids' new school clothes or some type of household expense to benefit the entire family. You need a new wash and dryer, dishwasher, whatever. You're telling him about the things that should be a priority regarding the household as a whole, but then he pops up and he don't want to invest his money on that, but he comes up with a brand new car days later after you telling him about the household expenses. So things of that sort, what I mean by spending money without your input or making sure the household needs are met? Do he plan outings with the boys without checking in on you? You know, it's just a Friday night again, and you trying to maybe spontaneously plan something for the two of you, but he doesn't immediately come home, and hours pass that he should have been home from work, and you have to give him a call, and he's out at the boys, or he's out at the game, whatever have you. He's doing something that you'd have no idea that these plans were even made in advance. You know, so he's still thinking in the mind of a single man, and all of his needs and concerns are coming first instead of his needs with the household and you being his wife and the needs of the kids and things like that. Another sign of abuse to look out for is if he's secretive about his past and he has this don't ask, don't tell type mindset. So like he may get extremely angry if you were to ask questions about his past, or if you try to figure out or just ask questions about his family dynamic, you know, his parents, siblings, things of that sort. He's either real short with you, cold shoulderous. He don't like talking about his past. So that's another sign of abuse, because that could be another sign of abuse, because again, there's a difference between, you know, just certain childhood traumas that you don't want to relive versus you just trying to keep secretive about your past because you don't want to, you may forget the lie that you told. You see what I'm saying? So you're just secretive about telling stories about your past because you may forget the lie that you told, and you don't want that lie to have to pop up later on, and now you have to change your story, and now you're being seen as a liar. So that's another red flag. If the guy's being secretive about his past and he has a don't ask, don't tell mindset. And if I can think of anything else, you guys know I have these little thought breaks, trying to think of more ideas. But I guess now is a good time to invite you all into the conversation. So you can now deposit your 2 cents in the comment section about the age gap between men and women. Let us know what age do you think is unacceptable for a man to date a woman, and share your signs of abuse that a younger woman dating an older man, what she should look out when dating an older man. And as always, if you enjoy these type of talks, share with your friends so they can join in the conversation in the comment section. Like this video so it can show up in the FYP page of those who may need to see it. And subscribe so you can get notified when the next video drops. Until next time.